6. Defining the requirements, conditions. Which of the following is a correct description for a non-functional requirement? A. Clarify the flow of the functional data that constitutes the business. B. Define the criteria and requirements of development according to the language that will be used for the to-be-developed system. C. Define the parameter the system as a whole can realize. Or D. Clarify the interface on issues, such as the transferring of information between systems. Requirement definition is the first process to be done when developing and building the system. What the system is to achieve and what kind of function the system have to be defined are made clear in this process. Regarding requirement definition, especially the functional requirements that must be inserted or included, questions like what does one want to include, and if that function is not included, that would be bothersome, etc., should be asked, which in turn would facilitate one in coming up with a list of functions that is necessary for the system. Using cars as an example, the functional requirements would be conditions such as being able to go both forward and backward, or being able to turn left or right. Functional requirements are the main objectives of the system. The users of the system expect these requirements to be fulfilled, and hence by supplying products that are above the expectations of the users, it will likely not heighten the customer's satisfaction. Non-functional requirements means what kind of functions does the system hold or perform other than the functional requirements. Again, using cars as an example, non-functional requirements have questions like how economical is it in fuel times, or does it malfunction, and how stable is the car's performance, should be considered. Non-functional requirements can be things that the users are not consciously aware about or they implicitly expect systems to have. For the sake of working out what is desirable to the users, this would have to be elaborate between the developer and the users, such as what do the users want? What kind of quality are they seeking? And these would have to be fulfilled. About non-functional requirements, these exist separate from the main objectives that need to be fulfilled by the functional requirements. These more functional, non-functional requirements are fulfilled, in effect means that the users of the system would be more satisfied. These non-functional requirements are seen with particular importance during the developmental and system building stage. Using the Common Frame 2007, functional requirements and non-functional requirements are defined as follows. Now, just before we go on, let us quickly take a look at the Common Frame 2007. The Common Frame 2007 is a guideline published by the IPA in October 2007 on software trading. It concerns each and every stage from software conception, design to development, introduction, application, maintenance to destruction, and it describes the content and terminologies of each process. So it's about the content and terminologies of each process within software trading. So this guideline can be used to define the functional requirements and non-functional requirements, and these are listed as follows. Functional requirements are defined functions of a system that are necessary for realizing the clarified conditions of the business. 1. The flow of the functional data that constitutes the business. 2. Possible human work and what is realizable in terms of the functions of the system. 3. The interface for information exchange with other systems, etc. Non-functional requirements are requirements that do not come under the rim of functional requirements. 1. Standard of quality, reliability, operability, function, maintenance, etc. 2. Ways of developing the system. 3. How the system is to be operated. 4. Migration process. And 5. Supplemental task. Settings, user education, etc. So, to return to the original question, which was which of the following is a correct description for a non-functional requirement, let's look at option A. Clarify the flow of the functional data that constitutes the business. This in fact corresponds to item 1 of the functional requirements in the previous slide. Look at option C. Define the parameter of the system as a whole can realize. Corresponds to item 2 of the functional requirements. So these two are both functional requirements. Let's look at option D. Clarify the interface on issues such as the transferring of information between systems. Again, this corresponds to item 3 of the functional requirements in the previous slide. Now to look at option B. Define the criteria and requirements of development according to the language that will be used for the to-be-developed system. This corresponds to the way of system development. It describes the non-functional requirement number 2 in the previous slide. Therefore, it is the correct answer to the question. So, the answer is option B.